Just this week, a prestigious medical professional, Dr. Oz, came on Oprah with Michael J. Fox to talk about Parkinson's and stem cell research. During the interview, Dr. Oz made a huge medical announcement about the breakthrough that has recently been made in science that's going to cure Parkinson's. This is what he had to say.
Now, I'm going to say something that's going to be a bit provocative. So just think about this. If I could put cells there to rejuvenate that, we'd be in great shape. But I think, Oprah, the stem cell debate is dead. And I'll tell you why. We would take stem cells, in theory, and put it through a trocar like this, and inject it into the brain from the right spot, and would come up and poke its head in there, and we'd be able to put cells in there to replace that.
Really?
And that's what the hope was. The problem with embryonic stem cells is that embryonic stem cells come from embryos, like all of us were made from embryos, and those cells can become any cell in the body, but it's very hard to control them, and so they can become cancer. But in the time of all this fighting we've had, which did slow down, I think, a lot of this research, there have been a huge amount of changes made. And in the last year, we've made 10 years of advancement.
In the last year, we've advanced 10 years.
Yeah. We went places we never thought we'd go. And here's what the deal is. I can take a little bit of your skin, take those cells, get them to go back in time. So they're like they were when you were first made. And then they will start to make that dopamine. And I think those cells, because they won't be as prone to cancer, and because they're your genes, will be the ones that are ultimately used to cure Parkinson's. And no one can tell how fast we can do this, but I've talked to a lot of experts in this field, and I think we're single-digit years away from making a big impact in the lives of Parkinson's disease, but also diabetics, heart attack victims. People have had a lot of problems.
Single digits away?
Single-digit years.
Wow.
So, in other words, it could be 8, 9 years.
Just hold on.
Just hold on.
Just hold on.
My name is Mike Byron. I am the Chief Science Officer and one of the founders of BioEden. When I talk to customers about stem cell therapy, many times they think of it as an abstract process. They don't really understand it. They think of it as science fiction or something that may happen in the distant future. The reality is stem cell therapy has been occurring for over 60 years now. The most common type of stem cell therapy would be a bone marrow donation or bone marrow transplant. The first bone marrow transplant occurred in 1956, and at that time doctors had no idea why it worked. They just knew it did. They had no concept of stem cells. It was another 7 years before stem cells were proven to exist. But now in retrospect, we know that the reason that technique worked was because of the stem cells that are present in bone marrow. In 2006 alone, just in that 1 year, more than 50,000 transplants occurred. So, as you can see, this is not some distant abstract concept for the future. It's being done today in hospitals around us every single day. Their ability is really breathtaking. If you sit and think about it, they'll be able to grow organs from this material someday. Whole organs, replacement organs for you. As it turns out, children's teeth, the kind that fall out on their own when you're very young, those children's teeth are the best known source of mesenchymal stem cells. And that's why BioEden was formed. What we do is we isolate the material, we collect it, we store it, we test it, so that you, when you need it, or your children, when they need it, it will be available. We use a very highly developed and specific process, and we store the material at extremely cold temperatures. Temperatures that are so cold that the cells go into suspended animation and stop aging. What that means is that we can store them for a very, very long time.